Hey, Shalom, Shalom. I want to give all praises due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, and double honors to the apostles at Great Millstone, and to the bishops and elders in Connecticut, and to the high priest that taught our apostles. This is Yah Demai from the Great Millstone, Houston. And I'm going to come to you with a lesson going into, Yahawashi being Isaac. Just a few scriptures on that, okay? So let's get into it. This Galatians 3 and 16. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promise made, right? I'm gonna read that again. Now to Abraham and his seed, right, were the promise made. He said not, and to seeds, plural, and of many, but as of one, right? And to thy seed, which is Mashiach Yahawashi. It's going to Isaac, right? And his seed, meaning Isaac, right? And that's showing you I'll read it again. Galatians 3 and 16. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promise made, right? That's Isaac. He said not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, Isaac, and to thy seed, right? Which is Mashiach, Yahawashi. So, yeah. So let's get Matthew 1 and 1. Just, keeping it simple. Matthew 1 and 1. And I'll read the title. The genealogy of Yahawashi, the Messiah. Right? Matthew 1 and 1. The book of the generation of Yahawashi, Mashiach, the son of David, right? Which was Solomon, and the son of Abraham, which is Isaac. I'm going to say that again. The book of the generation of Yahawashi, Mashiach, the son of David, which was Solomon, right? And the son of Abraham, which is Isaac. So Yahawashi, in his past life, was Isaac and Solomon. Reincarnation. See? So, and I'm going to play this video that Apostle Tahar made earlier, this morning, going into Apostle Ramla video. Check it out.
Yahawashi did come to Abraham, on his way to Sodom and Gomorrah. And he did speak to him, and he did tell him that he himself, Yahawashi, would return to Abraham in the time of life, which was a 9-month period. Because that's when,
the three angels that came in the plane, three men, which were angels. There was two that went to deliver Lot, but the one of them was supposed to be Yahawashi. It doesn't go into detail as to who they are. It didn't mention the names of the three of them, but Ariah used to teach us that Yahawashi, which makes sense. Now, because can Yahawashi come down in a human body? Yeah, he came down as Melchizedek. And Yahawashi told the Apostle Paul in Hebrews 7 that he had no mother or father. He just came on the scene. So that was an angelic body, Yahawashi, coming down in the form of a man. He was beamed down. Scotty beamed him down.
Abraham got Sarah pregnant at an old age. He was 100 years old, and Yahawashi's spirit came into that baby, which is Isaac. That's why I told him, I will come to you. Yeah, in that case, that was Yahawashi speaking to Abraham. But there was other times when the Heavenly Father himself was speaking to Abraham. He called Abraham his friend.
See. Yeah, I just, I wanted to play that because when I read that back in I read this a while ago, maybe a year or two ago, and and it did make sense to me. We're gonna get Genesis 18. We're gonna start from the top. I probably drop down, you know, and it says birth of Isaac promise, right? Genesis 18:1. And Yahweh appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes, it's talking about Abraham, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him, 3 angels, right? And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground. Verse 3. And this kind of, I don't know, check this out. And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. See? Just make me think of Yahawashi being one of those angels, okay? Let a little water, it's like in verse 4, let a little water, I pray you, be fetched and wash your feet and rest yourself under the tree, right? So Abraham went to go, fetch them, like some meat, bread, and everything, so he can feed them, And I'm gonna jump down to number 9, verse 9, Genesis 18:9. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And this is the point, this is the verse. Genesis 18:10. And he said, right, one of the angels, which was, we believe that was Yahawashi. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. Read that again. I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. Right? You see that? And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son, and Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. And that's the point, the angel said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. That's reincarnation. See? And we know Yahawashi being as Isaac, in his past life. And that's what I wanted to bring out. The point. And I checked, and I did. I checked it out in ChatGPT, and we can read some of it. Right, because I put, was Yahawashi the angel in Genesis 18, verse 10, explaining to be Isaac in reincarnation. And they say, good question. Let's break it down carefully. Genesis 18 describes Abraham being visited by 3 men. Well, 3 angels. One of them spake directly as Yahweh, right? Promising that Sarah will have a son, Isaac. Genesis 18, well, we read that. We don't have to read it again. Well, I read it. Genesis 18:10. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to time of life. And that was the point. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. Right? When it says 1, who is the angel visitor in Genesis 18:10? Many Hebrew Israelites teachers, and it's got, including GMS and others, teach that this angel of Yahweh, who spake as the Most High, was actually Yahawashi in the Old Testament, appearing in angelic form before his incarnation. This is supported by the idea that Yahawashi has always been the mediator between the Father and man, right? They got John 1:18 and 1 Corinthians 10:4, yeah, describing that Yahawashi was like the angel, in that chariot in 1 Corinthians 10:4. But I'm continuing reading on. To Isaac and Yahawashi connection, reincarnation, understanding. Some teachers identify Isaac as a reincarnation of Yahawashi, right? And it goes on. Abraham was commanded to sacrifice Isaac. Genesis 22, foreshadowing Yahawashi's sacrifice. John 3:16. In Hebrews 11:17 through 19 links Isaac being offered up with resurrection symbolism, just as Yahawashi would later die and rise. Matthew 1:1, which I read, lists Yahawashi as the son of Abraham, spiritually tying him back to Isaac, right? And some Christians, they can't even understand Matthew 1:1. They claim, and I know I'm thinking of a particular person right now. They claim they read the Bible, but it don't be looking like it. And 3, putting it together. So according to this interpretation in Genesis 18:10. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. So according to this interpretation, Salakia, in Genesis 18:10, the angel Yahawashi in angelic form foretells Isaac's birth. Later, that same spirit returned as Isaac, Abraham's son, through reincarnation. This aligns with the cycle of prophecy and foreshadowing that Yahawashi fulfills, right? And we got the summary. Yes, many brothers teach that Genesis 18:10 is Yahawashi appearing as the angel of Yahweh, announcing the birth of Isaac, and then coming back as Isaac himself through reincarnation. So, I just wanted to go into that, because I had always, I had always wanted to kind of like do a video on this, but it was, throughout the Yahweh Shema Rashah, the apostles, they pretty much confirmed it. So, that's why I took that video clip, and played it. So, I hope this been edifying going into, Yahawashi, being Isaac in his past life, right? And I hope this been edifying to the point. Until next time, Shalom.